In a prosperous and thriving kingdom, there lived a highly energetic and hard-working official, Minister Richard. Minister Richard carried the heavy weight of the state's most important duties. But he had a rather peculiar habit. He was a micromanager. Instead of focusing on the vast, overarching complexities of state administration, Richard would frequently involve himself in the most trivial, ground-level tasks. If a drain was blocked, he would go and clear it himself. If the marketplace was littered, he was the one sweeping it. While some citizens admired this hands-on approach, in the grand scheme of governance, the minister was completely failing to distinguish between his immense authority and his actual responsibilities. To enter the capital city of this great kingdom, one had to pass through one of two massive gates. The East Gate was guarded by a man named Arthur. Arthur was a man of iron principle, strictly adhering to the rules with a deep sense of duty. The West Gate, on the other hand, was guarded by Ben. Ben was a sycophant, someone who bended the rules whenever it pleased his superiors, always eager to curate favor. One fateful day, Minister Richard had to travel urgently to a village outside the capital. Because he left in such a chaotic rush, without proper planning, he entirely forgot to bring his identification card. By the time his business was concluded and he returned to the capital, it was the dead of night. According to the strict laws of the city, the great gates were to be sealed at midnight. No entries, no exits. In cases of absolute emergency, entry was only permitted if the traveler could present undeniable official identification. Minister Richard arrived first at the East Gate. He pounded heavily on the heavy wooden doors. "I am Minister Richard. Open these gates immediately." Arthur, looking through the small viewing port, replied with absolute calm, "The city gates are closed for the night. If you require entry, please present your official identification." Richard's face flushed with anger. "I do not have my identification. Do you not know who I am? I am the minister of this kingdom. If you do not open this gate right now, you will lose your job." But Arthur did not flinch. He stood his ground. "You may very well be the minister," Arthur said softly but firmly, "but without proper proof. If I open this gate, I could be letting in a thief, a bandit, or a rebel in disguise. The innocent citizens of this city would suffer. To me, the safety of the people is far more important than the threat of losing my job. By law, I cannot and will not open this gate." Arthur's actions proved that true responsibility means putting public safety above personal ambition, even when threatened by those in power. Furious and denied entry, Minister Richard rode away, making his way to the West Gate. Here, Ben was on duty. The moment Ben heard the minister's voice, he didn't ask for a single document. "Oh, Minister Richard, please come in, come in." Ben immediately abandoned the rules, throwing the gates wide open and bowing deeply, excessively pampering the minister. But as Minister Richard rode through the gates and into the shadows, he unexpectedly overheard Ben whispering to another guard, "Our minister is so incompetent." Ben scoffed. "He wastes his time meddling in lower-level work, sweeping markets, clearing drains, That's not his job. Instead of actually doing a minister's work, he just comes down here and bothers us." Hearing this, Minister Richard froze. A wave of shame washed over him. He could have easily punished Ben out of sheer anger, but in his heart, he knew the harsh criticism was entirely true. He absorbed the lesson silently. The very next morning, Minister Richard called an emergency assembly of all state officials at the Grand Administrative Office. The Great Hall was dead silent. Everyone assumed that Arthur, the East Gatekeeper, was about to be severely punished for defying the minister. Instead, Minister Richard stood before the assembly and spoke words that shocked the room. "Last night," he began, "I traveled without proper planning. I forgot my identification. That was a profound failure on my part. It was the mistake of a leader." He paused, letting the weight of his confession settle. It takes immense courage for a great leader to openly admit their flaws. "I am a minister," Richard continued, "but I will not abuse my power to unjustly punish Arthur for keeping the gate closed. Why? Because nobody is above the law. No matter how high your rank, the rules and regulations must apply equally to us all." Richard then called Arthur to the front of the hall. "An official like you, who strictly follows the rules and prioritizes the safety of the people, is a rare jewel of this state." Richard awarded Arthur the title of Model Worker, along with a grant of land and a vehicle permit. It was a perfect display of good governance, rewarding those who truly do their duty. Next, he summoned Ben. Ben stepped forward smiling, expecting a reward of his own. "Ben," the minister said, his tone turning cold, "you completely ignored the law to curry favor with me. Had I been an enemy in disguise, the entire city could have fallen. I will not punish you severely today, but consider this a final warning. Stop playing favorites. Follow the rules." Then, Richard looked at Ben and offered a small, knowing smile. "However, I heard your whispers last night, and you were right. A minister should not be micromanaging sweeping and ditch digging. A minister must focus on the grand administration of the state. For that lesson, I thank you." The minister had accepted the harsh feedback constructively. Following this historic day, the kingdom grew even more systematic, and the rule of law became stronger than ever. The ultimate lesson of this story is profound. The most vital foundation of any nation is its constitution. It is the ultimate shield that protects citizens from the unjust actions of authorities, guaranteeing human rights, equality, and freedom. As long as there are strong laws and brave individuals like Arthur to protect them, a nation will always remain peaceful and forever prosperous.